All right, so here I have one of my jalapenos. You can see fruit already developing. That one's het for variegation, the pollen donor there. So sometimes my markers fall off. This one still has a marker on it, good deal. I didn't even remember that one. Okay, so here we go. Pollen donor, and what I did is I pulled some of the pollen off right there. That long little piece connected to the furry little piece at the end. That's the anther at the end with the pollen. That's the filament connecting to the petal. I'm just going to take that and I'm going to go 100% zero variegation jalapeno. I'm going to look, see if I have any labels. And here's the fun part about doing this stuff. You can make all your labels perfect. And then if you make one little mistake, I knocked the pistil off, so that ovary is left. It's no good. Okay, so we got to skip that one. Now these I love. This right here, you can already see it growing. That's the style, the stigma, and the ovary. That ovary becomes the fruit, and that little brown piece there tells me it's already, besides the fact that it's growing, it tells me it's already stopped being receptive. I'm going to show you another one real quick, and that's a mammoth jalapeno cross, and I've got this style and stigma dried up or starting to dry. I don't know if you can get that, but I'm going to hold there for a little bit. That one's taken, and that marker right there at this point, that will not fall off. I'm golden. All right, what is this one labeled? 22nd jalapeno. So this one right here I can do, and I actually think I wrote this one down wrong, but it's jalapeno is the pollen donor, so it should be jalafuego jalapeno x fish and then x jalapeno. I'm going to take this, I'm just going to put some more jalapeno pollen on it. I have to come back and watch that video, make sure I correct that. Another place for errors, folks. I'm not trying to hide these things from you, I'm trying to teach you guys something. Mammoth jalapeno P1, that's just telling you if you're Prince 1 generation. And I'm going to look over here. I left the anthers on this one, and the reason why I did that is I wanted to show you this one's heterozygous for variegation. If you look really carefully, you can see that one anther has devoid of color on a portion of it, and the other anthers are normal colored. I find that a lot of times on heterozygous plants for variegation, and I also find that on completely variegated plants like this one over here that are homozygous. So we didn't pollinate this because I still have to emasculate the rest of that. I'm going to skip right on over, and here we have just a little note. Gregor Mendel, 22 February. So Gregor Mendel talks about the parental generations of the P1. So that's devilfish P1 fruit. That's the fruiting plant. X, and then we're going to know that this is jalapeno. Why? Because we're going to mark it in there. So, and I'll make the video so I can know what to come back and hit it with. Now if I suspect the pollen's no good on this anymore, I can toss it. I come back to the same jalapeno I've marked earlier, and I still have one little anther on there. So if I suspect it may not be any good, I'll come back and hit it one more time, and then I'll come over here and I'll hit this one. Perfect. All right, so all of those are done. I don't see any markers over here, and I do see markers here. So this is mammoth jalapeno again, and this one's from Brian Townsend, so a different source. What we're going to need to do is notice that there are two markers. Okay, things get tricky when you have two markers. That means you're going to do two different pollens, and I'm not going to put same, that's no fun. So what I've done is I've got my pollen donors that I put down here. The reason why I put them down in here is I find the wind knocks the pollen off a lot when you leave them on the plant. But if I put them in the bowl here, especially if I put the pedestal down in the soil, which I didn't do because it's going to be quick, I can save that pollen for a day or two and it doesn't get knocked off. So this one is A1. I know that because I just recently collected it. I'm going to take the petal, I'm going to pull it back, pull that back, and A1 is homozygous for variegation. That anther is not developed yet, so there's no good pollen on that one. But these over here are, this is some good pollen. So it's got a few good, a few bad. I'm just gonna gently try to pull that off without knocking it down, and I'll pull this back. And now comes the fun part. I'm gonna come over here. I've labeled this, and I need to hit it with A1. And I'll just rotate that around. Perfect. I can toss that. I'll just take this, X, A1, and that's my P2 generation. Again, any of you guys that don't know, P1 times P2 equals your filial generation 1 seed inside of that. Recommend you look up Greg Mendel. Greg Mendel is another character in the pepper world that goes by the same name as Gregor Mandel or Alex Sims or Pickles, Jimmy Pickles. All right, so that's A1, and I forget what this one is, but I remember it's not A1, so this one is going to be number 2. I'll look over here, and it has 2 flowers to help me remember that. Didn't do too good of a job, which again is why I love videos and pictures, because I can always go back and double check my work. All right, so we've already done this one, and we said this is number 2, so all we have to do is mark P2. How nice is that? Number 2. And this is again a homozygous for variegation. I occasionally will get one that'll have this much variegation that's heterozygous. I don't know what causes that, but we're just going to hit this sucker right here, and that is as easy as it is. I'm just rubbing that anther with the white pollen on there, and that should take. So now we've made those seeds heterozygous for variegation, since this is homozygous for variegation. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back down in here, push it gently in the soil, and that'll keep it from going bad if I bother to utilize it later. One more thing I want to show you real quick. When you see this happen, that emasculated flower is no longer any good, and obviously you don't want to worry about it. It's equivalent of a bee pollinated fruit as far as I'm concerned. Now I'm going to come over here. When I plant my plants like this, what I'm actually trying to do is I'm just setting them up so that they're married, and I don't have to worry or think about what was my plan or idea in this cross. So usually my non-variegated, these right here, will be the pollen donors to my variegated, and vice versa. And I'll just switch the roles. So that's how I do that. So this particular nice plant here, this one was from Brian Townsend. This is a brown jalapeno. And then we have a nice orange spice, which I've kept small by keeping it in a really tiny pot so I get it to flower early. I'm not really worried about production here. I'm worried about trying to get those crosses going. So absolutely gorgeous stuff. You can see absolutely gorgeous foliage. I believe that, you know, selecting early and often is the best way to do these things. So if I want to grow out one plant, I'll sow out at least 10 seeds, because I believe that selections matter. I don't want a bunch of C3POs that are red in all different shapes, and then the original hybridizer wanted a yellow and a different shape. So just a lot of work and a lot of progression through and through every generation. It's kind of like evolution. Plants evolve through the selection process, and if we don't make any selections, then we're letting nature or blind luck make those selections for us. And I believe in making our selections as ourselves rather than hoping that nature's going to give us a Wartrix. Today is the 22nd of February 2023, and that's it.